responsibility to disprove that.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility to prove that I can lead, and I am, the rebuilding and the recovery process. Expediting. I felt absolutely terrible not being here for my city.
LA Mayor Karen Bass gives us her first sit-down TV interview since the Palisades fire began and opens up about traveling on a diplomatic mission to Ghana with dangerous winds in LA's forecast.
When I say it was a mistake, absolutely, the idea that I was not present was very painful.
We know that there was warnings.
His contributions to our city, building in Playa Vista, in the Staples Center, and the fact that he was from the Palisades. So I was very happy when he did reconsider and decided that he would be willing to do this for free.
When you say it took a lot of arm twist.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome, everyone. And in today's video, we are going to analyze the disastrous interview of the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. On Fox Channel Local, how she is trying to justify her absence while she was traveling to Ghana. And Los Angeles was dealing with that devastating forest fire. So get ready for our analysis. The question is, Bass tried to justify her problem. But did this really convince anyone? And did it go unnoticed?
There are critics of you that were supporters of you. There were critics of you that were opposed to you before this whole thing.
Yes.
That say that you didn't. They're frustrated by your performance in all this, and they don't have faith that you can lead the city right now.
Well, you know
what do you
what?
say to those? What do you say to those critics?
It is my responsibility to disprove that.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility to prove that I can lead, and I am, the rebuilding and the recovery process. Expediting things, as I mentioned, opening up these centers that people can access, 7,000 people going to the disaster recovery centers. I think it's important to communicate to people what is actually being done, and that's my responsibility to do.
LADWP, we have that reservoir that is offline for repairs. We have all sorts of reports of fire hydrants not having enough pressure.
I will tell you that the fire hydrant situation is also something that has to be examined. The reservoir, as you know, was a reservoir for drinking water. The reason why it was empty, it was mandated by the state to be emptied because there was a tear in the cover. In the best of all worlds, one of the things that was so difficult in the fires were the hurricane force winds that the planes could not fly in. So even if the planes had, even if the reservoir had been filled, they wouldn't have been able to have used that. But the fire hydrant issue is something that is a whole separate investigation. It's a combination between the DWP and the fire department. The fire department inspects the fire hydrants. The DWP repairs them.
Your own brother lost his home in all of this. How has that shaped your perspective on what people are going through? Well,
I mean, I think that all of us as a city are grieving. Are grieving because many of us, if not most, knew somebody that was impacted. Either they worked there, they lived there, or some way. They went to school there. And so while I'm dealing with it as the leader of the city, I'm also dealing with it within my own family. My brother lived in Malibu for 35 years, survived many fires, and this one, unfortunately, they didn't make it. Their house didn't make it. They're fine. My brother and sister-in-law are fine.
And are you still enjoying this job, and are you still committed to running for re-election?
I am, absolutely. I mean, I ran for a purpose. I knew I would face challenges. I've been through disasters before in terms of living in the city, and I've had major challenges, whether I was in Congress or in the State House, and so yes.
And yes, you're still committed to running for re-election.
I'm still committed to running for re-election. I'm still committed to doing this job every single day.
Well, there's a lot. In the interview, Bass highlighted the water crisis, which intensified the fire issues. However, her explanations were ineffective, revealing the glaring failure in the city's structure, something that Los Angeles can no longer ignore. Next, Bass will say that she felt unwell. But the question remains, did she really convince herself? Check it out.
With us.
I felt absolutely terrible not being here for my city.
LA Mayor Karen Bass gives us her first sit-down TV interview since the Palisades fire began and opens up about traveling on a diplomatic mission to Ghana with dangerous winds in LA's forecast.
When I say it was a mistake, absolutely, the idea that I was not present was very painful.
We know that there was warnings about the weather before you went, and you still went. What was the thought process behind going to Ghana?
When the White House called and asked me if I would represent the president, I said yes. It was going to be a very, very short trip, over a weekend and 2 business days.
The mayor says LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley did not call her to warn her in advance of the trip and didn't do the, quote, normal preparations for this kind of wind event.
That type of preparation didn't happen. If that had, I will tell you, Alex, I wouldn't have even gone to San Diego, let alone leave the country.
But what do you mean there were warnings you weren't aware of? Because I know we were talking about it on the news. A lot of people were talking about the problems, warning that this was going to be a huge
So
thing.
it didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip.
Why didn't it
But to
happen?
me, I don't know. I mean, I think that that's one of the things we need to look at.
There are now 2 investigations underway, one by LA's Fire Commission, another by the Fire Safety Research Institute.
Everything that happened, including that, needs to be examined.
Have you nothing to say today?
When Bass returned from Ghana, she was ambushed by a Sky News reporter from Ireland. She didn't respond to him for several minutes, a clip that's been seen millions of times.
Your position?
Yes, it was an ambush, and I wasn't sure who he was. And that is unfortunate because I see the way that looks, as though I was avoiding. But when you're getting off a plane and you've been on a plane 17 hours and somebody hits you with a camera, I wish in hindsight my response had been better.
This week, the LA Times quoted former fire officials saying that the fire department could have pre-deployed at least 10 additional engines to the Palisades.
Did the city fail the residents of the Palisades?
Well, again, all of that has to be examined with experts.
What does accountability look like to you, and is it time that somebody be fired for this?
Well, again, I mean, I think it's premature to say now, but I do think that we have to examine everything, and that is going to take place very soon.
How do you assess the job performance of the chief of the fire department?
Well, I think that that's something that has to be assessed. I need to understand why things were handled differently this time than they've been handled before.
And why do you think that is?
I'm not sure.
We met up with Mayor Bass at the Impacted Worker and Family Recovery Center, now open in Culver City. It's one of 4 locations for those impacted by the fires.
And it doesn't matter where you live, where you're from, you can come here and get an array of resources, from direct cash assistance to unemployment, job assistance, training.
I asked, what's a realistic timetable for rebuilding the Palisades?
3 years would probably be the fastest, but probably it would be more like 5. So it really depends on the individual circumstances.
The mayor told
And in a surprising moment, Bess decided to admit her fault for her absence during the crisis. But were her apologies truly sincere and genuine, or just mere palliatives? This leaves a doubt. Who really cares about the city's safety in times of emergency? And so the question remains, are we witnessing genuine remorse? Or is it just another excuse to gloss over the facts? Leave your conclusions here.
You know what? First of all, I was very happy to ask Steve to come and participate. And let me just tell you, it took a lot of arm twisting to get him to come, which is why he agreed to come for 90 days. His contributions to our city, building in Playa Vista, in the Staples Center, and the fact that he was from the Palisades. So I was very happy when he did reconsider and decided that he would be willing to do this for free.
When you say it took a lot of arm twisting, he didn't really want to help?
Well, I mean, you know,
how that sounds?
Well, I mean, you know, he was involved in a lot of different projects.
Yeah.
I was asking him to walk away from everything and to come and to help his city. That was the arm twisting.
Got it. What has this experience taught you about leadership?
Well, it's taught me a lot about leadership in terms of the significance, how you present yourself, what people expect from you, and that's very important. And it's important for me to demonstrate to Angelenos that I can lead the recovery and the rebuilding, opening up the centers, doing things faster than was expected, making sure that the permitting process goes smoothly, passing executive orders so that we can expedite things, so that people can return home as fast as possible.
And what is as fast as possible? What's a realistic time frame for people to actually start rebuilding and actually get home?
Well, I'm hoping that the rebuilding and the planning process can actually start now, but that's going to be individuals. People are in a variety of different circumstances. We have seniors who might have paid off their mortgage years ago and are living on, fixed incomes. We have people that want to rebuild exactly as they built before. Other people who might want to make changes, which then the process would be a little longer for. So what I understand is 3 years would probably be the fastest, but probably it would be more like 5. So it really depends on the individual circumstances. And by the way, one of the things that I wanted to focus on that Soberoff will pay attention to is the non-residential part. So we thought that it would be helpful in the Palisades to rebuild that sense of community and to get the area where the playground, the rec center, the library, the Ralphs, the other commercial businesses up and running. So they're going through phase 1 and phase 2. And then after phase 2, when all of the debris has been removed, we want to put up temporary structures, because there are still a lot of people who will continue to live in the Palisades whose houses were not damaged.
Right.
We want them to be able to have access to services, but we also want the community to be, for people to come back while they're rebuilding. Yesterday, Alex, I met with high school students from the Palisades and high school students from Altadena, and I felt so bad for them because this is a group of young people who just a few years ago were out of school, and here they are again, and many of them were seniors, and here we are talking again about a graduation that might not take place. So thinking about their emotional well-being as well, and the emotional well-being of everybody who've been impacted.
Yeah, and when people hear 3 to 5 years, Governor Newsom was talking about the idea of a year.
I don't know about that, but I think that what we can do in a year, or maybe a little bit longer, are the temporary structures that we would put in the commercial area.
There are critics of you that were supporters of you. There were critics of you that were opposed to you before this whole thing.
Yes.
That say that they're frustrated by your performance in all this, and they don't have faith that you can lead the city right now.
Well,
what do you say to those? What do you say to those critics? It is my
responsibility to disprove that.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility to prove that I can lead, and I am, the rebuilding and the recovery process.
LA Mayor Karen Bass.
Steve Borlaug, who decided to serve without a $500,000 salary, but then a doubt and a question arose. Was it a genuine, heartfelt move or a strategy? To avoid further criticism, the management of Bass. Leave your comment here. I really want to know your opinion. Now I want to know your opinion about Mayor Karen Bass in this interview. How do you think she behaved? Did you agree with everything she said? Do you really think she is right? Did her excuse convince you? Leave it here in the comments. Don't forget to share your opinion. It is very important to us. And also, please leave your thoughts and comment here. If you really think she truly deserves a second chance, or if Los Angeles indeed deserves new leadership, well, this was actually the video. This video. Now, thank you all very much. Just don't forget to share and comment. Leave your like here to support the channel. And also, share this video with your friends and as many people as you can. Until the next video.